For decades, Johnny Carson ruled late-night television like no one else. Millions tuned in every night to watch his charm, quick wit, and effortless humor. To viewers, The Tonight Show was flawless smooth jokes, perfectly timed laughs, and celebrity guests shining under the spotlight. But behind that polished curtain, chaos, controversy, and jaw-dropping moments were hiding, carefully edited out by producers, lost in archives, or never aired at all. Imagine a psychic being humiliated live on television, a joke about toilet paper triggering an actual nationwide panic, or a wild animal nearly turning a beloved host into a human jungle gym. These are just the tip of the iceberg. For every flawless monologue, for every seamless interview, there was tension, danger, and unscripted drama that Carson and his team worked tirelessly to keep out of the public eye. Some guests bombed so badly they were quietly blacklisted. Some stunts went horribly wrong, risking physical harm or embarrassment. And behind it all, the man himself, Johnny Carson, was juggling enormous pressure, stress, and backstage conflicts, all while keeping a perfect smile on camera. What you saw on television was only half the story. What you didn't see could have shattered careers, exposed secrets, or even changed the course of the show. This isn't just nostalgia. It's a revelation. The untold stories of Carson's Tonight Show reveal a world of tension, improvisation, and danger hidden beneath the laughs. From backstage meltdowns to public humiliations, from network battles to moments of real peril. These 14 shocking incidents show a side of Johnny Carson and late-night TV that few ever glimpsed. Buckle up, because the golden era of television was never as smooth or as safe as it appeared. And tonight, for the first time, you're about to see the moments producers tried desperately to hide from the world. Johnny Carson was known for his wit, charm, and ability to control a room. But few people realize that, behind the smiles and laughter, Carson had a sharp, skeptical edge, especially when it came to charlatans. Perhaps the most infamous example of this behind-the-scenes control came in 1973, during the legendary appearance of Uri Geller, the self-proclaimed psychic famous for bending spoons and performing telekinesis on television. At the time, Geller was riding a wave of international fame. Millions were intrigued by his claims, and television producers knew that booking him promised high ratings. On paper, it seemed like a perfect Tonight Show moment. On air, however, the stakes were far higher than most viewers realized. Carson, a lifelong skeptic and secretly a close ally of magician and debunker James Randi, had other plans. What the audience didn't see was the meticulous behind-the-scenes setup. Randi had warned Carson that Geller's feats were likely illusions, tricks designed to fool the gullible. Carson and his team discreetly prepared. Props were altered, objects were subtly secured, and safeguards were put in place to prevent any actual psychic phenomena from being convincingly displayed. The goal wasn't to humiliate on a whim, it was to expose deception, while keeping the show entertaining and safe. When the cameras rolled, the live broadcast captured what appeared to be a failed performance. Geller attempted to bend spoons and perform psychic feats, but none of his tricks worked as promised. The audience, expecting awe and amazement, saw nothing. Carson, ever the professional, maintained his charm and humor, gently guiding the segment without tipping viewers off to the prearranged sabotage. Behind the laughter, however, the tension was palpable. Producers worried about backlash. Geller was a rising star with a devoted following. Any hint that the segment was orchestrated could have resulted in a public relations disaster. Yet, Carson's decision was deliberate. He wasn't just entertaining, he was making a statement. Skepticism, rational thought, and honesty had just taken center stage on national television. After the show aired, rumors swirled. Some accused Carson of cruelty, others praised his integrity. For the producers, the incident was a delicate balancing act. Footage was carefully reviewed, and segments that might have been too harsh or incriminating were quietly managed. Many of the behind-the-scenes conversations, preparations, and private discussions never left the studio. They remain largely unseen to this day. This episode set a precedent for Carson's career. While he made millions laugh, he also maintained control, often bending reality behind the cameras to ensure the show delivered the experience he wanted. It revealed a side of late-night television that audiences rarely see a world where humor, danger, and ethical choices collide, carefully curated to maintain the illusion of seamless entertainment. And this was only the beginning. As the years went on, Carson's producers would quietly manage dozens of moments where chaos, danger, or embarrassment threatened to spill onto the air. From panicked animals to guests who bombed catastrophically, The Tonight Show's polished surface hid a layer of tension, risk, and carefully orchestrated control that most viewers could never imagine. The Uri Geller debacle wasn't just a funny or shocking moment, it was a blueprint. It showed how Carson and his team could manipulate events behind the scenes, manage public perception, and keep The Tonight Show both entertaining and under control. It also gave a rare glimpse into the hidden pressures of late-night television. The stakes were high, the risks real, and the consequences for failure often invisible to the audience. This is the hidden world of Johnny Carson, and it was only getting started. Johnny Carson had an extraordinary talent for reading the room, delivering jokes that made millions laugh while keeping the timing impeccable. But sometimes, even the king of late night couldn't predict the unintended consequences of his humor. One of the most infamous examples occurred in 1973, during the height of his influence, when a seemingly harmless joke about a toilet paper shortage triggered an unexpected real-world panic. It began during a monologue in which Carson quipped about the possibility of running out of toilet paper, exaggerating the scenario for comedic effect. The audience laughed, and the cameras rolled on as if nothing unusual had happened. To the millions watching, it was just another witty quip from America's most trusted late-night host. What no one anticipated was the ripple effect. The joke spread like wildfire. Viewers, particularly those prone to panic buying or taking Carson's humor literally, began rushing to stores. Shelves were emptied almost overnight. News reports the following day confirmed that certain regions were experiencing shortages. Headlines framed the incident as a bizarre phenomenon. A joke on late-night television had caused a consumer frenzy, turning laughter into chaos. Backstage at The Tonight Show, producers were stunned. Their job had always been to manage the show's appearance on screen. But this incident spilled into the real world in ways they couldn't control. Network executives scrambled, concerned about potential liability, public backlash, and the sudden scrutiny of what had seemed like harmless entertainment. The joke had gone far beyond the studio walls. Carson himself handled it with the same calm humor he was known for. On air, he addressed the situation lightly, turning the incident into another segment of comedy rather than scandal. But behind the scenes, the producers had to navigate a delicate situation. They edited reruns to remove or soften the joke in certain markets, and memos were quietly sent to affiliates warning against overreaction to on-air humor. In effect, much of the story was managed quietly to prevent further panic. This moment illustrates something crucial about Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. The line between entertainment and reality was often razor-thin. While viewers saw seamless humor, the behind-the-scenes team had to anticipate, mitigate, and sometimes obscure the consequences of what unfolded on live television. Every joke was a gamble, not just for laughs, but potentially for real-world chaos. The toilet paper panic also revealed the unique power of Carson's platform. Millions of Americans trusted him implicitly. A casual remark from his monologue wasn't just entertainment. It could influence behavior on a massive scale. The producers realized that what seemed like a minor comedic moment could become headline news, and the responsibility of managing that fallout became part of the hidden labor of late-night television. Moreover, this incident set a precedent for future decisions about what could air and what needed careful handling. Producers began implementing stricter oversight for monologues that touched on societal fears, shortages, or controversial topics. Behind the cameras, meetings and discussions about potential consequences became routine. The joke had been funny, but it had also been dangerous. Yet for Carson, the experience was another reminder of the delicate balance he maintained nightly. Humor had the power to entertain, provoke thought, and unexpectedly affect millions in the real world. The Tonight Show wasn't just a studio. It was a stage where every word carried weight, and every laugh could have unforeseen consequences. The toilet paper panic may seem absurd today, but it marked a turning point in how The Tonight Show approached content, revealing the hidden pressures, calculated risks, and real-world stakes behind the perfectly timed jokes. And as shocking as this incident was, it was only the beginning of a series of moments that producers tried desperately to manage, hide, or erase from public memory. Each one revealed the unpredictable, chaotic, and sometimes dangerous side of one of television's most celebrated hosts. Johnny Carson's Tonight Show was the pinnacle of late-night television, a stage where stars were made or quietly broken, while audiences saw guests laughing, showcasing their talent, or sharing personal stories. There was a hidden layer of strict control behind the scenes that few ever realized. Some guests who failed to impress or upset Carson were reportedly blacklisted, never to appear on the show again, a measure both protective and ruthless. Managed entirely out of public view, The Tonight Show operated under intense pressure. Ratings mattered, sponsors mattered, and Carson's personal brand mattered most of all. A guest who bored the audience, failed to deliver, or displayed behavior Carson deemed inappropriate was not simply cut for a night. They could be quietly barred from future appearances. Unlike today's social media era, there was no immediate backlash or fan commentary. The blacklist was invisible, carefully handled by producers. Many anecdotes suggest that even seemingly minor missteps could have serious consequences. A comedian bombing on a joke, a musician fumbling a performance, or a celebrity making an ill-timed remark could find themselves politely informed that their appearance had been a one-time event. There was no public announcement, no scandal, just an unspoken decision that effectively erased the guest from Carson's carefully curated stage. One insider recalls the tension of preparing guests. Producers would brief celebrities not only on how to handle interviews, but also on how to behave, what topics to avoid, and how to maintain composure. Behind the cameras, staff monitored every rehearsal, every joke, and every line of dialogue. The goal was clear: protect Carson's image, maintain smooth television, and ensure that no embarrassment reached airwaves, or, if it did, that it could be managed. For those who were blacklisted, the consequences extended far beyond The Tonight Show itself. In the 1970s and 1980s, a single appearance on Carson could catapult a performer into national fame. Conversely, being barred meant losing an opportunity to reach millions of viewers. Careers were subtly shaped by decisions made behind the scenes, invisible to the public yet pivotal to entertainment trajectories. Despite the severity, Carson rarely showed overt malice. He maintained charm, humor, and professionalism on air, carefully concealing his behind-the-scenes judgments. His staff handled the delicate work of communicating with affected guests, often in private conversations, ensuring that the public never witnessed the fallout. This combination of discretion and authority preserved The Tonight Show's seamless image while quietly enforcing high standards. The blacklist also highlights a recurring theme of Johnny Carson's career: control and precision. He understood that live television was inherently risky. A poorly timed joke, an unpredictable guest, or a chaotic interview could disrupt the show. By quietly managing potential threats and enforcing invisible boundaries, Carson maintained the polished, effortless facade that audiences loved. Yet the secrecy came with emotional weight. Staff and producers often witnessed the disappointment and frustration of guests who found themselves on the never again list. Careers could be hindered not by talent or ability, but by a fleeting misstep. In front of Carson's exacting standards, behind the laughs and applause, there was a constant balancing act between entertainment, reputation, and consequences, a high-stakes game played out daily in the shadows of the stage. This hidden dimension of The Tonight Show illustrates the complexity of late-night television. At its peak, it was more than comedy, music, or interviews. It was a finely tuned ecosystem where every action was evaluated, every risk measured, and every guest performance could impact more than just that night's ratings. The blacklisted guests remind us that The Tonight Show's golden years were not only about entertainment but also about careful control, unspoken power, and high-stakes consequences. For every flawless performance aired on television, countless other moments were quietly edited, suppressed, or erased, keeping the illusion perfect while preserving Carson's authority behind the camera. And as shocking as this insider control was, it was only one piece of a larger puzzle of moments producers desperately tried to hide. From panicked animals to controversial remarks, The Tonight Show's history was filled with incidents that could have undone the magic, but were meticulously managed, often never to be seen again. Johnny Carson's Tonight Show was famous for its light-hearted interviews, witty banter, and memorable comedy sketches. Yet behind the laughter, some segments carried real danger, particularly the infamous animal appearances. From marmosets to pythons, producers brought live animals on set for entertainment, creating moments that were both hilarious and potentially hazardous. These incidents were often edited or carefully managed, hidden from viewers. But the behind-the-scenes tension was very real. One notable incident involved a marmoset, a tiny but unpredictable monkey brought on to perform a playful skit. At first, the segment went as planned. The monkey climbed on Carson's desk, interacted with props, and delighted the audience. But marmosets are highly excitable creatures. Within seconds, the animal began darting unpredictably across the set, jumping onto lights, knocking over equipment, and nearly striking a crew member. The cameras captured only a portion of the chaos, while producers and stagehands scrambled to regain control. Carson, maintaining his trademark composure, improvised jokes and guided the sketch back on track, making the segment appear effortless. Another terrifying moment involved a python. Large, heavy, and unpredictable, the snake's appearance was meant to create mild shock and laughter. As it slithered across the floor, Carson tried to keep the atmosphere light. Behind the scenes, however, staff braced for disaster. One misstep could have injured the host or a guest. In the editing room, producers carefully selected shots to minimize tension, ensuring the audience saw comedy rather than peril. Many of the most frightening moments were never broadcast. These animal segments were just a fraction of the hidden hazards of the show. Producers had to anticipate animal behavior, train handlers, and prepare contingency plans for every live appearance. Anything could go wrong. A monkey might bite, a snake might coil around the wrong leg, or a bird might escape into the studio lights. Each appearance was a gamble, with Carson caught in the middle. The result, however, was pure entertainment for viewers, who rarely realized the danger lurking just out of frame. The wild animal mishaps illustrate a larger truth about Carson's Tonight Show. What appeared effortless on screen was often meticulously controlled off-screen. Producers managed risks that viewers would never imagine, ensuring that chaos never overshadowed humor. These incidents also reflect Carson's own professionalism. Despite real fear, he remained calm, confident, and funny, improvising seamlessly in moments that could have gone disastrously wrong. The incidents were not without consequence. Backstage stress soared during every animal segment. Crew members had to act quickly, quietly correcting mistakes before they reached air. Safety protocols became stricter over time, but the show's appetite for unpredictable comedy never waned. The tension, danger, and improvisation involved in these stunts made each broadcast a tightrope walk, one that producers tried hard to hide from the public eye. These animal segments also highlight an essential dynamic of late-night television in the Carson era. The Tonight Show was not merely about interviews or comedy. It was a high-stakes environment where timing, improvisation, and risk management determined success. Every joke, every stunt, and every guest appearance was carefully curated, with the invisible hand of producers guiding the flow to prevent catastrophe. The wild animal mishaps stand as some of the most shocking, unseen moments in Tonight Show history. Audiences laughed at the antics, but behind the camera, chaos, fear, and meticulous control defined the scene. They serve as a stark reminder: television magic often relies as much on unseen preparation and risk management as on talent and performance. And as The Tonight Show continued, these incidents were just the beginning. Behind the humor, other shocking events, from controversial remarks to network tensions, were managed, hidden, or edited out. The Tonight Show's golden era was as much about what viewers didn't see as what they did, creating a carefully controlled world where laughter prevailed and chaos was quietly contained.